The people who made World of Tanks are cooking up a brand new game that may just be the next best thing in tank combat. This is called Project CW, an upcoming vehicle combat game that blends the depth and strategy of games like World of Tanks with more fast-paced, action-focused gameplay. Let's check it out. Now, Project CW is an impressively deep yet accessible tank game. Its main focus is a PvP Conquest style mode where 2 teams of 10 players each battle it out. There's also going to be a ranked mode down the line, there's a firing range where you can test out your builds, and there's also custom matches if you want. When it comes to the actual gameplay nuance, it seems to be all about precision and timing in your attacks. And I immediately could see how much skill and depth there was going to be in this mechanic alone. You can do things like target individual components on enemy tanks to increase the damage potential of your shots. There's complex armor values and surfaces that change how hard your shots hit based on factors like the angle or the type of ammo you're using. There's even internal systems you can hit with properly angled shots to cause massive internal damage. And how well you do in a game has a lot to do with your positioning, how good you are at pinpointing weak spots on enemy tanks, and knowing when to retreat, because 1 or 2 decently placed shots can absolutely end you. Now, before I get further into the details on this game, I want to say thanks to Wargaming for sponsoring this video. They asked me to check out the game and see what I think of it, and I gotta say I really like it. It's exactly what I want in terms of depth and accessibility. I'm kind of growing tired of games that are heavily knowledge gated, where you jump in and people are dominating you because they understand armor mechanics that you have to open up the internet to figure out. This game, however, gives you the tools to learn while you play, and it is a huge improvement. There's a playtest going on right now, which will be live until March 2nd. You can sign up for it with the link in the video description. Project CW is also free to play and available on PC and consoles. So getting back into the features of the game, there's a pretty robust customization system that lets you kit out your tank with perks and damage boost, increase your repair speeds, give you better accuracy, and other kind of core stat boosts. You can also equip different parts to gain certain advantages like more armor or speed, often with some sort of penalty like increased energy usage that seems to balance everything out. There's also multiple tank options for each class, and each one has a unique loadout and base stats. And while some of that might seem a little overwhelming at first, it's clear that the core design philosophy of this game is just getting you into the action and understanding the mechanics as fast as possible. There's a really cool overlay effect that you see when another tank is within the range of your weapon that shows the armor value and critical spots on the tank. This, in my opinion, is huge, and it should allow new players just to learn armor levels so much faster. Each tank has its own abilities that give you more tactical options. The sniper tank, for instance, has a decoy that you can place, a tactical airstrike ability, an ultimate ability that gives you X-ray vision on enemy tanks so you can see their internal components, which in turn lets you line up your shots for maximum damage. And aside from your ultimate, your abilities both have energy costs and a timed cooldown when you use them. Hopping into Conquest, it was great having a familiar game mode to play. A lot of tactical or sim games have complex modes that can often require a huge amount of learning before you understand your role on a team, but Project CW takes a mode that any multiplayer fan would be familiar with and throws tanks into it. Pretty much every match I would head to a flag and then try and capture it while holding off the enemy team's advance. This map with some long sight lines was kind of my paradise. I would get up here and start sniping down at the advancing enemy tanks, basically hitting them as they came out of their spawn and earning some really quick kills that gave my team more time to capture other objectives. Each team has to fight over a handful of these objectives, and holding more points will give you a score advantage, making it easier to win the round. Simple stuff, but a cool twist is that each match has a couple of challenges that teams can complete to get more points. Stuff like getting 7 kills within a certain amount of time. And I found when these objectives were active, it would actually make me play more aggressively so we could try and work together as a team to get the team objective. I really like this addition to what otherwise would be a fairly simple mode. There are also instances where I could take a position near the middle of the map and prevent the enemy team from crossing one side of the map to the other. This was a really solid spot that I found that gave me an overview of both the enemy approach from their spawn and the central objectives. And if you've ever played a tank game before, you'll know it's all about positioning, so the map knowledge in this game does come into play quite a bit. In one match, I was trying to take an objective, but multiple enemy tanks started pressing me. I tried to get back behind cover so I could use my repair ability and delay their attacks, but I overshot it and got absolutely annihilated. Had I used the handbrake to stop myself or just not tried to reposition so quickly, I might have been able to actually survive this fight. And the maps are built like this, with little bits of cover that you can use to hide yourself or even drive on top of to get to a risky but powerful elevation over your enemies. Using the heavy tank with the shield, I also found to be a lot of fun. There's plenty of rounds where my teammates were trying to take an objective while under fire, and being able to roll up and block that incoming fire was kind of a cool feeling. The shield covers a pretty broad area in front of the tank, so it's big enough to block shots for teammates, but also only works in the direction that you're actually pointed. So enemies can get around it pretty quickly and hit you in the side unless you're really careful about it. At first I wasn't sure what to think about shields in a tank game, but they're just really well balanced, especially since you can't shoot while your shield is deployed. If you could say place it down somewhere and then use it, like fixed cover, that might be a bit too powerful. As it is, it's a really nice defensive tool that doesn't feel impossible to deal with if you're on the other side of it. So it's actually kind of cool to see them integrate these concepts that I didn't think I would ever see in a tank game, but now they work really well, and I can't think about playing this game without shields. And out of all the starting tanks, I definitely gravitated towards the sniper. These tanks are sort of the glass cannons, where they're super effective with single shot strikes at a distance, but they just don't have the firepower to fend off a close quarter attack. Once I got familiar with the basic layout of the maps, I was able to identify some really good sight lines and just lock down locations. I could pick off most tanks in one or two well-placed shots, and I actually found the decoy ability was really effective as well. This is one of those games where landing the first shot or the first disable can basically determine the outcome of a fight. So making enemy players second guess who to shoot first just gives you that split-second advantage to open up a fight on your terms. I did a lot of sniping from higher elevation spots on the map, and it could be hard to tell exactly where you're getting shot from, and several times the enemy teams would target my decoy tank by mistake. You can also use the decoys as deployable cover, which is pretty darn cool as well, since they'll take at least one shot for you. And standing back from Project CW, I gotta say, I'm loving this game. I've spent quite a bit of time playing World of Tanks. It's a game that I really enjoy, and Project CW feels like it captures so much of my favorite elements from tank games, but presents them with the, what I would call sometimes unnecessary knowledge curve that comes with those games as well. I think this game absolutely has a future, and I'm very curious to see where it goes from here. I highly recommend it, and once again, if you want to check out Project CW, check out my links in the video description. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. This is Level Cap, signing off.